do whatever you have to do to get the money to fund the marketing.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Annuity Fundamentals. I'm your host, Kylie Malat, joined by our co-host, the one and only Mr. Ryan Anderson. And today we have a very special guest that we had the opportunity to meet in Dallas and got to pick his brain a little bit, and he's got quite the story. So I'm excited to hear from him today, and his name is Marty Becker. And Marty has a few things that Ryan's going to go into detail about, just the uniqueness of what people in this agency really look like and what they do in and outside the business. So Marty, thank you so much for joining us. We're excited to have you.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, no problem. Now, Marty, you are really kind of a Renaissance man. I don't want to go as far as international man of mystery, but you're not quite the normal insurance agent. I just want to kind of go down some of the things that you're actively doing right now. You're the host of the Atlas Annuity podcast, which is your own podcast. You're the owner and president and founder of Atlas Annuity Agency, and I think your website's atlasannuity.com. You are an active captain in the St. Louis Fire Department, and you have been in that department for the last 22 years. Did I get that right? You insurance by day, firefighter by night kind of a thing?
So far, so good.
And then as you're going through here, and your I guess your trail or your path into the insurance world is not the normal path that a lot of folks take. Can you kind of tell, you started out as a client and then came over as an agent. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so like you said, it's a very unconventional path into this industry where firefighters, police officers, which most of my family are cops. I went the dark side and went to the fire department. Teachers, government employees, all have defined benefit pensions. Well, in 2008, my defined benefit pension was switched to a defined contribution. I think most people probably listening to this podcast know the difference between the two, but it's the difference between, hey, you work for 30 years and then you get a guaranteed income for the rest of your life versus, hey, you have a 401k and you are at the mercy of whatever the stock market does the day you walk out the door.
Yeah.
So I was 28 years old at the time, but I was still smart enough to realize that we don't know what the stock market's going to do 30 days from now, much less 30 years from now. So I was in this desperate attempt and this desperate search to find a solution to replace that guaranteed income. Okay. The only thing I could find that even closely resembles a defined benefit pension was annuities. And of course, annuities are issued by the life insurance industry, which every financial advisor and so-called expert told me, don't even bother looking over there. Those guys, they're just in it for the commission. The products are terrible. So I started doing my own research and actually stumbled across a book on cash value life insurance. And from that book, basically the author decimated any excuse, any objection that I personally could come up with, any negative innuations that were told to me about the life insurance industry. She decimated those. So I just did something that I personally never do, which is what I ask all my clients to do: enter my information into a website and wait for a phone call. And the guy who got my plan set up, very, very nice guy. This was all virtual, kind of like I do all my business now. After we had my plan set up, I called him back and I said, hey, I can't be the only person having this problem. Do you think this is something I could do on my off days from the fire department? And he kind of blew me off. He was like, yeah. Go get licensed and I guess call me back. Well, I called him back like 6 weeks later. And I was like, okay, now what? It was like, oh, crap, you were serious. So he kind of took me under his wing for the first year or so. And then I started Atlas after that and basically been on my own ever since.
Very nice. Well, I think everyone's question is going to be, what book did you read?
Bank on Yourself.
Bank on Yourself.
The Bank on Yourself Revolution. And that is the infinite banking that was originally created by Nelson Nash. This is more of a marketing book to explain that concept. And it's a great idea. It's a great product, using the cash value whole life. The problem that I found was the older you get, the less benefit as a retirement plan it becomes. Now, at the time, I was 35 when I started that, because I was going through this intensive research project for about 7 years before I stumbled across that book. And I looked at everything from franchises to real estate to precious metals to stock strategies, crypto. None of that stuff could protect my money and guarantee that it would be where I needed it to be when my body tells me, hey, you can't get on a fire truck anymore. So after really being focused in that area for the first several years, that's when I started to learn about annuities. And annuities were the solution for people in their 50s to 60s who are getting ready to cross that threshold in retirement.
Well, that's fantastic. Now, as you're going through here, you've been doing this for a number of years, and you trying to move from, again, the full-time fireman to doing this part-time, and now you pretty much split your time. It's about half and half. I mean, as far as owning a business and having them with clients, you were an elite producer at the Aegis event we met at earlier this year. Kind of walk through the story here. What were some of the struggles you had starting into this, as far as you weren't even a life agent or a Medicare agent? You started as an annuity agent. And so you didn't even have the benefit of understanding the industry or having, a gateway solution to kind of work your way through here. How did you do that? How did you start to actually get in front of people? How did you learn the solutions? How did you figure out which companies were the ones you wanted to work with? What was that like?
Yeah, that was a tough road. And I was actually just talking with a buddy of mine from the fire department. He was just here spraying for bugs. That's what he does on his off days. Most firemen have two lives that they live. And he was asking me, he's like, so what are you doing down there in my office? Because he sees the sign behind me. He's like, I have no clue what you're doing. So he was asking me, okay, well, how'd you get into this? And I said, it was really, really hard, because he just told me, he goes, hey, I actually sold life insurance for a little while with my brother-in-law, and it was really hard. I was like, it's really, really hard. There's a reason there's a 90% turnover in this industry. And I told him, I said, if it wasn't for the fire department and having that foundation of income, I don't think I would have made it. Because the biggest challenge, the biggest obstacle people in this industry are going to have walking through the door is leads, marketing, getting business. So I would tell someone, because I funded my entire business by working overtime at the firehouse. I would go in and do additional 24-hour shifts just to get enough money to buy leads. So if you're new in this industry and you're walking through the door, and if you're a captive agent, maybe you're getting some sort of stipend to at least help you survive. That's only going to last for so long. If you're going independent, man, it's a much, much steeper climb, but my gosh, it's worth it. It's worth it. So if I could give someone a piece of advice, do whatever you have to do to get the money to fund the marketing. And I don't care if you have to cut grass or be a bartender, or if you have some other skill that you could just do a side hustle, drive an Uber, whatever. Do whatever you have to do to get the extra money to buy the marketing until your business starts to snowball and it just becomes almost a self-fulfilling prophecy after a while. So that was years and years and years that I did that. And it was hard. Now, luckily, I came across some really good mentors who helped me with these strategies. And, you can only have so much hand holding while you're trying to build your company. Okay. Because if you're with a really good IMO or an FMO, there's people there who are going to answer your questions for you. And they'll help you find the products and so on that are appropriate for whatever case you're working on. But after a while, you really do have to take responsibility for this. And you have to be the one who's going to start running the numbers and say, okay, well, what happens if instead of just trying to put this client into one annuity for them to start taking income, what happens if I use a 10-year certain for the first 10 years of the retirement, and then take another portion of money and put it in a 10-year deferred lifetime income annuity? Does that work out better for them? So you have to start, first of all, you have to know these products. And I'm not saying you have to know every single in and out of the disclosure of each individual product. You have to have a 30,000-foot view of how these things work. And then in your mind, start putting pieces of a puzzle together that could benefit your client and separate you from the other 5 advisors that they're talking from at the same time. And when you start to do that and you learn how to get creative and distinguish yourself in the marketplace, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy at that point.
Yeah, I kind of want to circle back a little bit to something you said. I think, for those listening, their biggest hurdle is leads, right? So you talked about leads, and then you talked about, marketing. What do you mean by marketing? What do you do specifically to get in front of people?
So I heard one time that if you're not on the internet, you don't exist. Mm-hmm. So if someone can't find you with a simple Google search, you don't exist anywhere. Like, you're not part of the industry. So, when I started, I was buying leads from the big lead companies, and it's a start. It'll get you some business. It's a very expensive way to go about it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times when you're using those leads, you'll call these people. They literally just got off the phone with the scrubber at the lead company. And who's this? I didn't. Nobody told me you were going to call. It's like you just got off the phone with them 10 minutes ago. What do you mean you didn't know I was going to call? All right, well, there's another $300, and that was at the time. Now I think they're closer to $400.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to come across someone who had some experience in this area, who could really help me design a marketing campaign focused around education. Mm-hmm. I just got off the phone with a client this morning who is now doing repeat business with me, and he goes, I really like your approach. You basically had all my questions answered before we even talked for the first time. So my marketing revolves around educating the client. I'm going to tell them everything that I would want to know if I were sitting on the other side of the table. Because the hardest thing to do is get clarity in the chaos of this thing called the internet. When people start Googling annuities, there's all different kinds of opinions. Some are based on trying to funnel people into a certain direction, a certain product, a certain company. Just give them the answers. Give them the answers they're looking for, because everybody has the same questions. What are these things? How do they work? What are the benefits? And when you start to do that, people will start to seek you out. And I'm sorry, Kylie, I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we all have trouble with. And I know Ryan and I have gone with leads and we've done workshops, we've been on the internet, we've done podcasting. Like you're right. You're trying to put yourself out there as much as possible. And the more education, obviously the more value. And I've been there where we've spent hundreds, thousands of dollars on
Thousands.
Hey,
Thousands.
here's a lead.
Thousands.
It's live, and
Tens
then you
of
call
thousands.
you call and they have no idea who you're talking to, or they just needed the password into their para account. So you're like, okay,
Yep.
this is a hit and miss, right? Mostly
Yeah,
a
I've
miss,
done the
but
para thing too.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And there's a lot of agents who are trying because you're just like, what's working for you? And so you just, I like asking that question, and I come back to the same answer for myself, and it's workshops. That's how I get in front of people is I do a workshop and I allow our marketing team to fill the room for me, and I go up there and I do my thing. And I think that we don't chase, we attract, right? And I think agents get so on the bad wagon of I need to call my lead, and like they're almost working out of desperation because you are desperate, especially starting and getting things going, and they call it the grind. I hate the grind.
I hate it.
I remember, I would call Ryan and be like, this is horrible. Like this is the leads. I know, and people like, it's blasphemy to say the leads suck. You suck. No, they don't. Sometimes the leads are horrible. And like, if someone doesn't even give you 10 seconds into the conversation, what do you do with that? So I like getting in front of people and having a workshop and getting a room filled. And then the people that want to work with me are the people that I want to work with. And there's this level of trust after a workshop as well, that it's hard to really get that virtually. So I just kind of wanted to pick your brain about that.
Agreed. And everybody's going to find their comfort zone, their niche on how they do that marketing. I've never done a seminar ever, and I never will. That's not my comfort zone. That's not where I'm going to thrive. But just like you said, they feel comfortable with you afterwards. That's why I do the podcast. That's why I do the educational videos. It used to be, man, I would have to teach people all these things on every single phone call on these first meetings. Well, now I've put all the education out there, and by the time that they call me, they already feel like they know me. They know the voice, they know the face, because everything I do is virtual. Out of the hundreds of clients that I have, I think I've met 2 or 3 of them in person, literally. But they know me because they've seen my face, they've heard my voice over and over and over again, which just like with the seminars that you're putting on, there comes a level of comfort of seeing that person, knowing them versus just getting a cold call. Hey, give me all your financial information.
Yeah.
People don't like that. They're not comfortable with it. There's too many scams and shady ass people. Unfortunately, even in this industry, but just in general too. So you got to find where you're going to thrive. If you're comfortable in front of a room full of people, there's a lot of good marketing agencies out there that can fill a room full of people for you. Use that leverage. And like you mentioned, the desperation. I've been fortunate enough to where I had that foundation to where I never felt like I had to come across desperate, because I knew I could always pay my mortgage. And that's why I'm telling, if newer agents are listening to this, do whatever you have to do, even if you're working 2 full-time jobs, the agency and something else to pay your bills. It is a huge, huge difference on how you come across to people, because you're not desperate, because you don't have to sell them anything to pay your mortgage, to buy groceries, to pay your kids' tuition. You don't have to do it. and it's very, very apparent, and Kylie, maybe you can weigh in on this too, they can hear it in your voice if you're desperate to sell something.
Let me jump in there on that one. I've heard that term often. It's called commission breath, that they can smell it on you, that you can come through and it's like, I really need this. It's all of a sudden, it's not so much about me selling something or about me helping you. It's more about me selling something. And clients can go through, and individuals, they can totally smell that on you. They can hear it. They can feel it. You said 2 or 3 things in there that I kind of want to come back to that I think were absolutely critical, and you kind of skipped over them a little bit. Number 1 was mentors. Having somebody who actually knows the industry to kind of go through and show you how to do it. And number 2 is having money for marketing. Now, there's this old adage in marketing that says, 50% of my marketing budget doesn't work. I just wish I knew which 50% it was. So that as you're going through and you're doing this and finding something that you can spend a lot of money really easily in this industry and get nowhere. Yeah. That there is, I firmly believe there is no secret lead source that is absolutely perfect for everybody. There's no company out there that's going to get it done right every time. There's not, and we've looked at it. We've spent tens of thousands of dollars on the para leads, on the government leads, on the, the retirees, on the people that go through and fill out the forms as far as wanting money for retirement. We've had the dinner seminars where we've spent tens of thousands of dollars at a steakhouse and fed a bunch of people that just wanted a free steak.
Yep.
We have gone through and filled the room with people that were millionaires that realized that they were outside of our target market, that we didn't have the ability to be as sophisticated financially for them as that they needed, that we hit the bar too high, which was kind of a weird thing.
Yeah.
Then we've gone through and we've had Medicare seminars at the local VFW and at the Elks Lodge, and realized that unless you're a member of the VFW or the Elks Lodge, you're not going to go to the Elks Lodge. So, we went through, and there were so many mistakes we made along the way. Our seminars were too long. Our seminars were too short. Going through buying the leads and using the different lead companies, trying to do it virtually online and having no clue how to transition from a face-to-face to the virtual piece. But having somebody there that, okay, here's the business model that works for me. Let me find somebody who understands that model. And I want to give a little bit more background here, that you and I met at the Aegis Elite, I can't remember the name of the event. Basically, they take all the heavy hitters in the country, they bring them in for a weekend, they give us some education, then they bring in a star, a celebrity that we get to meet. It was Emmett Smith this last time, which was totally cool.
It was.
And then, but it gives us a chance to rub elbows with folks like yourself that I don't do virtual stuff. I would love to know how to do that. And as far as finding somebody to mentor me in that space, are you looking to build your agency? Are you looking to stay kind of smaller? Or are you looking to expand it? What's the goal for Atlas?
So the goal is eventually to get to 30 million consistently. Mm-hmm. And that's just going to take time, time and more marketing, and getting even better at my craft, and still finding ways to differentiate myself from the other guys out there. And it really comes down to you got to find what you're good at. Mm-hmm. Because I'm sure we both know people that do 30 million who don't do anything the same that you and I do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. For instance, Brad Pistol, who's also in Missouri here. He's in the Branson area. Very, very small kind of country type of area. The dude did $42 million last year by himself.
Yeah, he had a couple of admins, and that's it. He's just
he's got like one or two admin people that help with the applications. Actually, no, he does all the applications.
Does he really?
Yeah.
And just to look at him there,
distinctively.
And I remember sitting there talking to him. He did not come across as, dude, okay, 40 million times 6.5% times whatever. He doesn't strike as a guy that's bringing down $2-3 million a year in income. And with having that low overhead, I mean, so how do you do it, Brad? Oh, I'll just do my thing. I mean, it just really, he's, and I don't think he's keeping secrets. He's really good at what he does.
He is. And then Chad Owen, who in Texas, I think he's back in Colorado, and we both know Anthony. You know, they found their niche in the radio marketing.
Yeah.
Where they're constantly running shows on, you know, whether it's an AM network or some sort of news FM channel. And then, you know, like Brad is really big on sending books out. When someone calls the number from the radio ad, he immediately sends them a book. Then you have other guys like Chad Owen, who does the radio, but he also uses the lead companies as well. But he's also a guy who every Monday night is going to take his stack of leads and he's going to get on the phone for 3 hours and start calling them and booking appointments. Neither one of those things I knew was going to work for me. I hate making phone calls. I didn't want to do it. So I was just very fortunate. I had someone reach out to me who was familiar in this area and doing the online marketing with Google ads and things like that. So my approach was, hey, I don't want to call people. I don't want to do it, which is a very hard thing to do in this industry. So we just came up with the concept of, we're going to put this information out there. We're going to answer people's questions before we even talk to them. We already kind of know what the questions are. So let's just start making educational videos on the answer to those questions that we know they have. And then, of course, you got to get, and this is beyond my scope of practice whatsoever. This is his niche of, okay, now we got the content. How do we get people to see it? Mm-hmm. And that's where all the smart guy stuff comes in, of algorithms, SEO, Google ads tied to keywords and things like that. So when people type in a question to Google, hey, Atlas Annuity, we have the question to your answer. We already knew you were going to ask it. We're happy to answer it for you.
I think that's huge. I appreciate your perspective because, quite frankly, you're the first guest that we've had that has that perspective of just having everything run market that way. Typically, you're seeing people doing the workshops or buying the leads or trying to figure it out. So it's refreshing to say, I mean, there are a certain personality type who are agents, right? And we're the entrepreneurs. We're trying to find something new. And the fact that you have found something that caters to your personality, I also think speaks volumes about knowing yourself. And there's a lot of agents out there that we work with at Annuity Fundamentals, training them to just the baseline understanding of how to explain an annuity to clients and, educate them properly. What questions to ask, when to ask them, those types of things. And they're always looking for like that quick hit of like, what do I do to get in front of people, or how do I make this money? And I appreciate that you said it takes time. Like, I want to get to 30 million and that's going to take some time, but I know that my trajectory is that's where I'm going and that's where my goals are and that's what I'm putting into place. And I think that's going to be very valuable to someone who's like, yeah, Kylie, who's listening, Kylie, I don't want to do a workshop. And then they hear you, Marty, and say, I don't want to do a workshop either. So I invented the wheel and I am doing my own thing. And I think with doing your own thing, right, it still takes someone to help you. Someone reached out to you, someone helped me, someone helped Ryan. Like, I think because there is, Cody Askins has a brand for a reason, right? So the 8% of us that actually make it, we know what it takes to make it, but we're also very giving in that information of like, hey, this is what I did, try it. And I think a lot of agents get hung up on, I don't want to be rude and ask. So if that's you, ask some questions. If we wouldn't have had this podcast, I wouldn't have known that was even possible. So thank you, Marty, for sharing that little tidbit. I think agents are intimidated by this field, but we need good agents. We need good educators to help these people. And because you're right, I'm sure that scared that guy to death. Earlier you were talking about like, well, he wrote me the policy and then I called him and was like, hey, more people have this problem. And I think because you had been in the passenger seat of having the problem, you're like, let's get in the driver's seat and help these other people. And I'm sure that took him back, and probably why you started your own company within a year. Because not a lot of people have that like forethought of like, hey, if I'm having this problem, that means people in my position are also having this problem. So I need to be the solution. And I think that's a pretty admirable for one. You being a captain of the fire department, that's a big deal. And then to add on, hey, let me help you retire. You can tell that you have a servant's heart and that you do enjoy helping other people and educating. And for someone to watch your podcast and then get on the phone with you and feel like they already know you, how better marketing is that? There's no better marketing. So kudos to you and your team.
Yeah, and thank you. I appreciate that. And if I can add to that for new agents listening, it is going to take time. Mm-hmm. It really is. And always, 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 always put yourself on the other side of that table. Put yourself on the other side of that phone call. You are talking to people about their money. Okay, we're not supposed to love money, but we are supposed to be stewards of it. But at the end of the day, this is something the people that you're going to be talking with, they have worked their entire lives for this. Okay, they need it to last them the rest of their lives. This is a very personal, I hate to use the word sacred, but sacred topic for them.
Yeah, it is.
So always put yourself mentally on the other side of that phone, on the other side of that camera, on the other side of that table, that this is a very, very serious subject for them. And there is no magic script. I don't know how many tens of thousands of dollars I've wasted on the end-all, be-all program, and we got the scripts and all. Screw the scripts, okay? It's good to have an outline, but you need to listen. Listen. If you listen and you ask appropriate questions, they're going to give you the information you need to ask the next question, and then the next question. And then eventually you'll get into the recommendations, but there's so many advisors out there that are, again, desperate to make the sale. They're not listening to these people.
Yeah.
They're not listening. They're not getting their questions answered. And if you can take that approach of, I'm here to solve a problem, I'm not here to sell something, it comes across very different.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it. Our time's spent here, but this has been absolutely fantastic. And I really appreciate the just sound judgment, sound advice and counsel. There's no secret silver bullet out there. Hard work, smart marketing, get a mentor, be consistent, have a servant's heart, and treat your clients with respect and dignity. And if you do that, you will get success, but again, it's not going to happen overnight. That there's Kylie's word, the grind. There's a grind to it up front.
Yes,
and
there
I
is.
mean, when her first day, I was like, all right, Kylie, you do know the next year is going to be like crawling over broken glass. Just be aware of that. Mentally get that in your head. So 3 months from now, when you're at my office crying that I can't do this, we're going to come back to this moment. And that was a conversation I had with new agents. So, but again, thank you so much, Marty. We so appreciate it. And for any of you out there, if you would like help with this, annuityfundamentals.com. We've got the training programs. We can connect you with the mentors. We can connect you if you want to get into workshops. One of the organizations we work with is called leadshop.org. They will fill the room for you. They do it consistently. And then also, Marty, what is your website and your podcast so folks can go there and get more from you if it's out there?
Yeah, so the podcast is called the Atlas Annuity Podcast. You can pick it up on any of the platforms, Apple, Spotify. The website, if you go to atlasannuity.com, that'll get you there, and that actually goes directly to my calendar page. But all my videos are listed there, articles from the past, stuff about long-term care insurance. And again, it would be good for agents because it's all based on education. So I'm trying to educate the clients. Agents can learn a lot as well. Social media stuff, the YouTube channel is at Atlas Annuity. And I know I have a Facebook and Instagram or something. I don't even... I have. The guy who knows.
We'll put it in the comments below.
Yeah.
No worries.
I've never even seen it personally, so I just know it's out there.
Beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Marty, for joining us. And to our audience, we will see you next time.